Trump. We're back with the Republican National Committee's Communications Director, Sean Spicer. Sean, Donald Trump keeps complaining that at these Republican presidential debates, you, the Republican Party, you've stacked the audience, put in a lot of pro-Bush people, pro-Rubio people, or whatever, and he gets booed sometimes, and he says you don't allow any of his supporters in. Your reaction?
Well, it's not a reaction. I think we've gotten out there and just put the facts out. In the case of Charleston, Greenville, South Carolina, where the last debate was, every candidate got 107 tickets. The party had just over 300, and we had 10 donors there. The numbers are what they are. I know in the case of that particular debate, look, the campaigns wanted more tickets. We gave them more tickets to get their supporters in before this important primary. And if you think about it, just the math alone, that meant that there were 500 people that were not with you and 100 that were with you, just if you look at what the other candidates' allotment were. And so by virtue of just how that plays out, there's going to be more volatility in the audience, more applause for other candidates that aren't the leading one.
Are you confident all the Republican presidential candidates who signed that pledge to the Republican Party, including Donald Trump, will honor that pledge, will support whoever gets the nomination, and won't run as an independent third-party candidate?
I am.
Totally confident.
100%.
Despite all the ugly language
because
going on.
At the end of the day, and this is both parties, you come together. Our party understands what's at stake, especially after the unfortunate passing of Justice Scalia. There are Supreme Court justices that will alter the trajectory of this country if we don't have a Republican in the White House. If we Hillary Clinton or, God forbid, Bernie Sanders take over the White House, you know, that's a Supreme Court that's going to live on for a generation in terms of the picks that can come. The economic consequences, the foreign policy consequences. Our party knows what's at stake. If Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders takes over, we will unify, come together, and win in November.
You say, God forbid, if Bernie Sanders takes over?
Well, I think that, look, this isn't a Democrat. This isn't a liberal Democrat. When somebody is an avowed socialist and is a leading candidate for the Democratic Party's nomination, that's a major problem. We prided ourselves on how this country was formed in terms of, you know, a capitalist society where people could come here and do better for themselves, grow individually, grow a family, grow a small business. And for someone to come in and take over the presidency of the United States as a socialist, that's you know, unfathomable to me, and I think millions of Americans.
He says he's a democratic socialist, and he would pattern his policies on Denmark or Sweden, some of the Scandinavian countries.
Well, that's great. But I think that for most Americans, whether you call it democratic socialism or whatever way you want to dress it up, I don't think it takes, you know, a Band-Aid to figure out what's really underneath there.
You think he really has a chance to beat Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination? Because I know the Republican leadership has assumed all along that it was a lock for Hillary Clinton.
Well, look, I think with the recent revelations that the FBI is investigating her and Vice President Biden's decision to sit it out, there is a possibility that he becomes the de facto nominee. I think he beat her squarely, 60-38 in New Hampshire. The polls right now are even in Nevada. So I think that when you look back at 2008, no one thought that a first-term senator with a funny name, to quote the president, could beat Hillary Clinton. Barack Obama came out, ran a better campaign, and beat her. I think for all the people who are dismissing Bernie Sanders now, this is a similar situation to 2008, and she better watch her back.
You think Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York, will run as a third-party independent?
I hope he does, because if he does, I mean, one of the things you've heard Chairman Priebus talk about is that brings in that we haven't had in play before. Connecticut, probably New York, a lot of the other Northeast.
You think he'll take more Democratic votes than Republican?
There's no question. I mean, Mike Bloomberg is a Democrat. He's always has been. He's a very liberal Democrat, which is great for us. We would rather run against two Democrats any day of the week.
Sean Spicer, thanks very much for coming in.